Hi, Kelsey here, and today we're going to make these Art Deco 3D letters. You're going to need some craft paper and some craft glue. You can find these files on my Etsy and also on my Patreon. They are a little bit different than your typical 3D letters. They are skinnier and they give more of that 80s Miami vibe. Check the links below to look at them on either platform. I'm going to be using Beacon Craft Glue today. I find that it dries in a quick amount of time, but also gives you some time to move around the pieces if you need to. So let's get started in Design Space. Once you've uploaded the letter, you're going to want to change these lines to score lines. You're going to want to ungroup the letter and then attach those score lines back onto the appropriate piece using the paper clip in the bottom right corner. Once you have them attached, go ahead and regroup everything and size as necessary. You can size in a couple of ways. I just did mine by eye. You can click on the letter and see how tall it's going to be. I rearranged it on my mat for cutting, and I want you to notice the shapes. This is going to be your guide. So you're going to use these shapes that correspond to the strips, and that's going to tell you where to place the strips onto the letter. To start, I'm going to go ahead and fold on all my score lines. I'm using a bone tool, but you do not have to use one. You can just fold with your hands. The tool just gives you some sharper edges. You can also use a popsicle stick for this. When you're folding all of these, don't forget, if you take everything off the mat and forget where the pieces go, you can always just refer back to your file on your Design Space or on your computer. Once I have everything folded, it's time to see where the pieces go. So I'm going to start with my square piece, and I'm going to line that up. So each letter has a front and a back piece. Make sure you're lining everything up with the right side, front or back. And then you're going to just glue in small strips. If you are new at this, I definitely suggest starting one little section at a time, waiting for the glue to dry, and then progressing down the letter. And all you're going to do is move back and forth. So you're going to glue down, hold it, make sure it dries, and then bend the next part of the piece on that score line to fit onto the letter. Take your time moving things around and lining up pieces, letting the glue dry as much as possible so that it's all in the right place and doesn't move around when you start connecting other pieces. So now I'm just attaching that last edge to the side, and remember, these are really skinny, so you have to take your time and practice these to get them just right. So we're going to go ahead and attach the other side, the circle that you saw on your mat. And so I'm going to start by putting some glue on the opposite piece, so the piece that we just did, right at the bottom where that circle is going to attach. Now I'm holding it there and letting it dry for a little bit, making sure that that bottom edge is attached to the new side piece. Once I have it attached, I'm going to go ahead and start with my longer strip. And just like we did with the other side, I'm going to work section by section, attaching it to that T piece. These two side pieces might overlap a little bit. That is okay. It's not going to make a difference because you're not going to see the inside. These are just the sides. So I'm just using my tweezers to push down on the inside to make sure that other flap is laying flat and glued secured to the T. Once I have all the glue dry for one strip, I start on the next section and work my way around until I have the lid on. So I've completed the border, and now I'm just pulling up my edges that are sticking out. This is where you would add a weight at the bottom if you wanted to have some help with it standing. Some of these letters, because they are so skinny, it's hard for them to stand on their own. So adding a weight at the bottom or some tape underneath does help a little bit. Now I'm taking my glue again. You can do this on the letter or on the piece that we just did. and I'm putting glue all around the T. You can work in sections if you feel more comfortable and glue down as you go. And I'm gonna add the other piece, the back piece, to my letter. Now, this is kind of a simpler letter, so if you're getting started, this might be a good one to start with to practice before you go into letters that have centers or more folds in them. It's a T, so they line up pretty evenly, but I'm just checking to make sure that it looks good and it's the right side. And I'm gonna flip it over and line them up. So I'm just moving everything down, pinching into my sides and securing the top of that letter down, and also waiting for that glue to dry a little. This is a lot of waiting when you make these. And that is how you assemble a 3D letter. So remember, if you're going to do something with a center like an O, start with the inside. It's going to make it easier for you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy crafting.